Hey guys, welcome back to Team Death Slinger. My name is Peter, and today I want to talk about DM again because I think DM was so close to being exactly what I wanted in this card game, and yet it fell so far from where it could have been, and I want to talk about it. We're going to talk about the good, and we're going to talk about my personal gripes with DM as an archetype. And yeah, let's get right into it. So, starting with a disclaimer, because I have to. I'm not saying that DM is a bad archetype or even that I dislike the overall design. The purpose of this video is to discuss how DM was a few aspects away from being amazing, and it unfortunately falls short in a handful of ways that make it frustrating to build with. There's still many things about the set that I enjoy, and those will be discussed as well. Listen, guys, we all know I build jank here, and I think DM is just a little bit frustrating to build with. There's a lot of shortcomings and pitfalls that I'm not a huge fan of. But we're going to start with the good things about DM because there's a lot to love here. So the good with DM, the nostalgia factor is incredibly done. I love the V-Pet borders around some of the cards. I love some of the inheritable icons being the little V-Pets themselves. And I think the card art has a ton of personality. I think more so than a lot of recent sets. I've been enjoying the card art more, especially in the DM archetype. Each DM deck has a unique identity, and it functions well as a lower power level engine. We talked about the actual DM versions last week and what each one does. I think they're pretty well defined with their individual functions, and I think they're totally worth playing as a fun engine that you can put a variety of different top-end cards on top of. Some of the DM specific cards are especially well designed, like Analog Youth. If you haven't seen this card before, basically you tuck a face down source under one of your DM trait Digimon, and then when something is tucked underneath one of your Digimon, you get to draw a card and gain a memory. That's the shortened version, not exact words. But all your Digimon face down sources gain reboot. So it's just a nice piece that gains you memory, draws you cards, lets you tuck sources, and gives you reboot. So it kind of does everything that DM wants to do, tucked into one little tamer for 3 memory. The archetype also has some really great generic rookies with powerful keywords that can be used as enablers for other decks. We got the Biomon with Raid. We've got the Betamon that has jamming. We've got an Elecmon that gives minus 3,000 to all of your opponent's security Digimon. I believe we have a Kunemon with piercing, and all of them have training so that they can enable the DM function as well. But as far as generic rookies go, they've got powerful keywords, and they're non-obstructive, intrusive, whatever you want to call it. They don't force you to tuck sources underneath, so they can slide by in the decks that want them. Some of the level 4 Digimon also have some really powerful effects. Cards like Dark Tyrannomon that suspend something down, let you swing. Cards like the Kawagamon and the Kabuterimon that suspend something down and don't let it unsuspend. Tuskmon has a really great deletion effect on it, as well as a really powerful raid inheritable. So some of the level 4 Digimon in there are really powerful, which I love to see, and they're kind of minimal investment because you just tuck a card from your hand as their face down source. You could totally slide them in some other archetype decks. Training as a keyword is really flavorful. It's interesting, especially considering it adds game actions to stacks and breeding. It's more things, it's more complexity to the game, more things to think about, make sure that you do. For some people, that's going to be fantastic. For other people, it'll feel like a chore. But I think it is flavorful in the context of what the DM archetype is, and I like it in that function. The villain cards like Chimeramon and Machinedramon are attractive secret rares with plenty of use outside of the DM archetype. I think Machinedramon, especially, is probably the best design card in the set. It's just really good. It does everything Machinedramon wants to do. It caters to the cyborg lovers. If you want to play as a DM level 6, you totally can. And Chimeramon's pretty good too. It rewards you for playing DM, rewards you for playing a bunch of colors. And even if you just ran it as a generic level 5 in some decks, it's going to be just as big DP-wise probably as a generic level 6 with security attack +1. That deletes something within the same color that it has. And in meta decks, you're probably going to see a lot of color overlap. So it's just going to be a pretty decent removal card that swings 2 checks. So with that being said, we're going to get into the bad. And I swear to God, guys, I do like this set, but it's going to seem like I don't. So general card design gripes is what we're going to start with. This is just overall things that I have problems with in terms of card design for this set. So first of all, no generic black or purple level 3 with training and a keyword. This just straight up sucks in terms of EX9 deck building. I know we're getting a little bit more DM support in the future. I don't know if we're getting the generic rookies with training and a keyword, but right now we don't have them. And that matters because when you're trying to build a DM bottom end into a different top end, it kind of matters that you can't get that face down source in raising. It might be one of your only opportunities to actually get a source underneath. Analog Youth needs you to have the Digimon out front to actually tuck that face down source underneath the Digimon. And for a lot of decks, you're not going to find yourself very safe promoting a rookie out of raising, evoing it to a level 4 to activate the when digivolving that lets you tuck something. And it can just be a little bit difficult if you're trying to run a non-DM level 4. That level 3 might be the only way you can get a face-down source, especially speaking as somebody who's trying to build jank, and that can just be a little bit frustrating. I'm not in love with that. The failed Evo line, level 4 Digimon have no cost reduction on their end of turn evolution. We have Numemon to illustrate the point over here. End of your turn, you place 3 Digimon cards with a version 1 trait from your trash face down as this Digimon's bottom Digivolution cards. It may Digivolve into a Digimon card with version 1 trait in the hand or trash. I understand, guys. I swear, I know this is supposed to Digivolve into their respective level 5s that have cost reducing effects when you Evo into them. The Edimon, the X-Tyrannomon, Digitamamon, etc., etc. But we have plenty of decks that Digivolve for free, just period. I don't think these decks are incredibly overpowered. I don't even think they're close to particularly powerful. I don't think giving them a free evolution at the end of turn from a level 4 into a level 5 would necessarily be game breaking. I just think that it would be good for these engines that are kind of underwhelming. And while you can get a reduced cost Evo if everything lines up, it just feels a little bit silly that this isn't a free Evo, especially considering the fact that you got to have your 3 pieces set up in trash to get that evolution off. There's also the fact that plenty of cards in EX9 revolve around tucking Digimon from trash face down as a bottom source, but the set doesn't offer many ways to actually set up the trash in engine. And my gripe with that is from a creativity standpoint, it kind of pigeonholes you into running a lot of the same support cards for these DM version decks, where you're running EX1 Analog Youth because you got to get Digimon in trash so that you can actually try and resolve these end of turn Digivolve effects. Of course, if you're not trying to play these effects, it doesn't matter the most, but we've also got things like the level 5s that want to suck up a Digimon from trash as a bottom source. And at the point is, you're either going to try to play with these effects and play the pieces around the deck that revolve around them, or you're not going to put out of archetype support. You're going to bank on crashing your stacks or trashing your sources so that you actually hit a viable Digimon that can go into trash or activate the trash effect. And it just kind of feels bad, especially if you're playing something like the Digitamamon. If your face down source isn't that 4 cost or lower DM trait Digimon, and you don't have any way to fill the trash, well, then your Digitamamon just doesn't do anything. And that doesn't feel great, especially if your only way of filling the trash is going to be crashing a level 4 into security and building a second stack. It's just kind of lame, in my opinion. I feel like it could have been a little bit better designed with some ways to put things in the trash for you to play back. While it's cool from a nostalgia standpoint, I think training is kind of uninteresting, especially with the lack of payoff. Training as a keyword feels awkward at times, as you can tuck away your 1-ofs or 2-ofs and not see them for the rest of the game. I know I said that training was kind of cool, but I do think it's uninteresting. If we look at other sets that introduce new things, usually they have a little bit more of an impact on the way you play the game. I just think training is somebody when we have sources, right? This is a part of the game. It's something we do. What if we turn them upside down and they didn't do anything? That's what training comes across as, and it's a symptom of something larger in the set that we're actually going to talk about in a little bit here. So I'm not going to get too into it, but I just want to touch on the fact that I think training is a little bit underwhelming and a little bit awkward. So another issue I do have with the DM archetype is this narrow card design we've got going on in some of our cards here. A handful of word changes and a lot of cards would go a long way for enabling in EVO line archetypes as well as DM archetypes. Here's a way I'm going to illustrate this. This is Sukamon. Sukamon does the same thing as the Numemon. You place 3 Digimon with the version 3 trait from your trash face down as its bottom sources, and then you Digivolve into a version 3 trait in hand or trash. Now, if this end of turn effect allowed for version 3 or Sukamon in name, gets tucked underneath as a face down source, and allows you to Evo into a version 3 or Edimon in name, in its archetype, it would accomplish the exact same thing. But all this would do is allow Sukamon in the Edimon deck to actually have a little bit more legs to stand on. And I don't even think it would be that cracked. I don't think Edimon is particularly broken. I don't think anybody's worried about one piece tipping Edimon over the edge. But my point that I'm trying to illustrate here is that by designing these cards just a little bit differently, you'd allow players to breathe a little bit of life into some of these older decks, players who treasure some of their favorite archetypes that might not be the most playable. They just have a little bit of something. Even if it's not the most functional, you're getting 3 face-down sources in a generic Edimon deck. Well, that's not that crazy, but you get the free Evo at least, and it's going to give some tempo to an older, slower deck. Meat is a card that I think should be a little bit different. I think it should be allow for tucking of sources under any Digimon and only restrict evolution into a DM trait card. You might think this is a little bit silly, you might think it's a little bit too free, but I want to frame it this way. What the card is going to be doing is allowing you to Digivolve into any level 3 or 4, or rather, you could think of it as digivolving into any lower level Digimon, and then promote to digivolve into a DM trait Digimon. And this is kind of forcing you to digivolve into an in-DM archetype card. You're still playing in the archetype like Meat wants you to, but all it allows you to do is change the access to keywords you have in your level 3 and 4 suite. You might now be able to go into a 3, a generic level 4 that doesn't have training in the back, and then promote it. You could play Meat to get a source underneath, or you could pop a Meat to digivolve into a level 5 with the DM trait. But as it is, the card only really allows you to play strictly with DM trait cards, because you need to go from a DM level 3 to a DM level 4, or a DM level 4 to a DM level 5, and then usually if you're running it out of archetype level 6, you just can't use the Meat to go from 5 to 6 because you're going to a non-DM trait card. I think this will just allow you a little bit more freedom in mixing and matching the keywords on the bottom end of the deck that you have, and just give you a little bit more flavor in your archetypes. And I don't think this is something that would break our DM versions in some horrendous way where some unforeseen consequences happen. I just think it lets us do slightly more interesting things. Protein also allowing DM trait Digimon to unsuspend sucks. The fact that it's only DM trait Digimon is what sucks. I think the level of investment you need for this card, you need to be running cards that tuck sources underneath DM trait Digimon, which, by the way, is only going to be DM trait Digimon or DM trait cards that can tuck sources under DM trait Digimon. So you're going to have a level of investment that ensures that you're probably not running something extremely cracked on top of the DM engine. You're just getting an unsuspend for at least a decent amount of deck investment. And to me, it just feels the same as running Demonic Disaster. A deck that you run Demonic Disaster in is probably at least a quarter to a half indexed into playing free Digimon so that you can delete a Digimon to unsuspend for less memory than Protein. And Protein requires further setup because you have to play the card and then use the delay effect to unsuspend your body. It's just kind of a long con, costs more memory. I just don't think it'd be that broken, guys. It would just allow you a little bit more freedom and a little bit more creativity. Several of the level 5 Digimon have effects that revolve around face down sources but don't have any way to add sources, meaning they have no value outside of DM. Cards like EX Tyrannomon, if I want to play EX Tyrannomon in Tyrannomon, I'm kind of out of luck because that card will suspend something on Digivolve and on play, but it's not going to bottom deck anything. It has Fortitude, so maybe you thought about playing it in Marukimon, but it's just going to be like horribly underpowered because you don't have a way to get that face down source underneath it if you're going to play it back with the Fortitude, and that just kind of feels a little bit bad. This would have, in my opinion, been an excellent opportunity to design a set that enables and empowers a lot of lower power level but beloved archetypes, but instead it cements the notion that Bandai wants their sets to contain prepackaged decks with minimal backwards compatibility. It's kind of something that we already knew, we've been seeing it, but in my mind, this kind of just cements it. It's locked in. If this is the opportunity that they're going to miss in terms of giving us a set that really, really works for a lot of decks with, in my opinion, minimal effort, I just don't think it's going to happen that much moving forward. Lastly, I do want to talk about the underwhelming payoffs. We talked about the training earlier, but while a lot of level 4 and 5 Digimon require face-down sources to activate meaningful effects, the level 6 Digimon do not have any such restriction. This kind of results in a deck that makes you stack sources to gain memory off Analog Youth and activate lower power effects, but ultimately your top end does not care about those face-down sources. This is kind of why you see me in my deck profiles, I'm putting different top ends on these DM engines. Well, that's because our DM aces don't do anything with those face down sources. I'm not really losing anything by not running them. And in my opinion, this makes training feel gimmicky and like a mechanic that exists to intentionally fit cards into a box for a set or two and then never see play again. Once we're done printing the DM cards, I really don't think we're going to do anything with these face down sources, which is a little bit frustrating. It could have potentially been solved by giving the ace Digimon effects that revolve around the number of face down sources, either scaling their effect up or removing their own sources to use them when attacking. So something like Titamon Ace over here. We've got Scapegoat, we've got On Play when Digivolve, you may play a level 4 or lower DM trait Digimon card from your trash without paying the cost. Cool. All of your version 4 trait Digimon game blocker and retail. Also cool. You want to know how you make this use your sources? You just say, on play, when digivolving, and when attacking, you may trash one of your face down sources to play a level 4 lower DM trait Digimon card from your trash. Now we have investment in the fact that we care about our face down sources. We care about continuing to put face down sources underneath this card because we want to attack to continue to put bodies on the board. That would be great. I understand that maybe the Scapegoat would probably be too much. Maybe the card needs a little bit of a redesign to do something like that. But what I'm trying to convey to you is that I don't think it would be incredibly difficult to make these cards care about your face down sources in the same way that your level 4s and 5s do. And I think it's disappointing that they don't. It doesn't make me feel like I'm missing anything when I don't play these cards. It just makes me look at the top ends that exist for DM and ask myself, well, what's better? What's a better yellow and black card that I can put on top of this engine, or a better purple and green card, et cetera, et cetera. You kind of get the point. Potentially there could be some payoff where you could flip sources face up to get a more powerful stack. Maybe you have your level 6 Digimon. The consistent theme between them all could have been that when you Digivolve, you flip up all their face down sources, and then you do something. Or you can trash sources and then you flip them face up. And then that kind of gives you the opportunity to build your like keyword soup kind of card. That's a big bad boss monster that has the payoff that it trained so much that it learned all these skills and yada yada whatever. I get that we have File Island as well that gives the 1k DP buff for all of your face down sources, but I don't know many people that really care about a 1k DP buff for each of your face down sources in comparison to something like flipping your sources over. So in summary, there's a lot to love here, from nostalgic art and interesting mechanics to powerful level 3 Digimon. I do have personal gripes with the narrow card design and missed opportunity to enable underpowered decks and archetypes. The top end cards for the DM decks lack payoff and meaningful usage of face down cards, and the DM archetype is frustrating to build around if you're trying to be creative. I just feel like a bunch of my frustrations come from the fact that I'm trying to do interesting things, things like maybe a Digiburst deck. I wanted to do something with Chaos Gallantmon where I was using the BT5 Black War Growlmon, and digibursting away some of our face down sources. That digiburst effect doesn't actually say once per turn, so I was thinking about like, how can I stack up a bunch of sources underneath this? But I ran into the issue that there's no generic level 3 with training for me to stack sources with. I can't actually use meat to get sources underneath the Black War Growlmon. I can't tuck sources underneath it with the analog youth, so now I'm stuck in a position where I have to get a level 3 and a level 4. I have to run a full purple level 4 base, and then I was thinking, well, maybe I can get security +1 inheritable underneath it, and then Digiburst away the non-security attack +1 inherits, and then that gets awkward because you can't actually tuck a source underneath your non-DM trait level 4 with security attack +1. So the whole thing is a mess, and it just kind of winds up feeling frustrating when every avenue you can think to take to build with the DM trait doesn't work for some reason or another. So that's all I wanted to talk about. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you think about DM as an archetype as a whole? What are your thoughts and feelings? That's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. Thank you to our channel members for supporting this channel. It's people like Langlong, Big Z11, Coffee Deus, and DigiDane who make videos like this possible.